here's the current build I have for my Historic Paradox Engine deck. We're running 4 each of Consider and Ops. These are too good. When you're able to slam a Paradox Engine for 5 and you have that 6th mana to crank the engine over, these cards are too good. Honestly, I wish there were more 1 mana playable draw spells right now, but it probably won't happen for quite a long time. I'm only running 3 Anticipates because they're not quite as, in my opinion, as strong as Shimmer of Possibility. You could make the argument to run 4 of these and 3 of these, and I maybe should at some point just try that. The advantage of playing an instant over a sorcery in this deck with Aetherflux Reservoir is that when you have a spell on the stack, you get an Aetherflux trigger, you get a Paradox Engine trigger. Your Paradox Engine trigger always resolves first. Thank God. And then, once you untap, you have the Aetherflux trigger on the stack. You can respond to your own Aetherflux trigger with another spell. Tap out your artifacts, cast another spell. This way, if you keep chaining into instants, you can stack your Aetherflux triggers so they are all counted for the same amount of life because you haven't resolved them yet. So if I cast 10 spells at instant speed, I'm going to have 10 triggers to gain 10 life each. Whereas if I play a sorcery and then I let it resolve, I gain 1 life. I play another sorcery, I let it resolve, I gain 2 life. It's going to give me less than 50. It's going to give me something like I don't know. Actually, it might be slightly more than 50. I'm bad at math. But it's not going to be 100. It's going to be like maybe 60. That's why I favor instants over sorceries, except for in this case. Anyway, I'm running 4 Cold Steel Hearts, because you have to. They are too good. 4 Mind Stones. Card's good. It lets you draw cards. It's not a brick when you run into it when you're going off, because as long as you're generating lots of mana, the paying 3 mana to draw a card becomes pretty trivial, especially because it's all colorless. I'm running 3 Supreme Wills. I could see myself playing 4 of these. Card is really good. It does what Shimmer of Possibility does at instant speed. Or, if you want, you can mana leak something, counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Really good to have that in the pocket when you want to play it slow, get lots of mana, lay down your Aetherflux with protection in case someone is trying to destroy it or counter it themselves. 2 Network Terminals. It's 3 mana, so that's why I'm only running 2 of them, but this card has been doing work for me, without a doubt. You can pay 3, you can get 1 of any color, which of course we always get blue. You can also pay 1 tap, another untapped artifact, so Paradox Engine, because Paradox Engine's just sitting there, it's not doing anything. So you use this, tap Paradox Engine to draw a card and discard a card. Lets you turn lands in your hand into something that you might actually want. Hopefully not another land, but you know it happens. I'm only running 1 Whir of Invention because it takes 3 blue. It's maybe something I should think a little harder about, maybe add another. I just don't know what I would take out. We'll skip over to Inventor's Fair because these 2 cards are functionally doing the same thing for us. These cards, hopefully, we're not using them to get Paradox Engine, but sometimes we do. In an ideal situation, we've got a turn 4 Paradox Engines. And then after that, we are going and looking for our Aetherflux Reservoir with our Inventor's Fair or our Whir of Invention. Because we're only running 2 Aetherfluxes. We're running 4 Paradox Engines because really this is the heart of the deck. This is the thing that makes the deck work. We want to draw this card, even if it's an inconvenient time to do so. And even if we draw multiple of them. So there's my thoughts on that. Running Tamiyo's Epiphany. So I pulled out Pull from Tomorrow because it felt like what I call a win more card. It's great it seals the deal for you when you're already going off, and you honestly, it's overkill. You don't need it. It is nice to have the instant speed. Let's say you paid 4 mana into a Pull from Tomorrow. What, that gets you 3 cards and you discard 1. This gets you 2 cards, but you get to see potentially 6. Like, if your top 4 cards were terrible, you can put them all to the bottom and draw 2 off the top that are hopefully doing something for you. It's a sorcery, which again, not crazy about. It's the only other sorcery I run other than Shimmer of Possibility. But the value, the card value, the just being able to dig 6 for 4 mana, I like it. There could be something better than this out there. I don't know what it is though. Yep, and then there's 2 Aether Fluxes. I run 3 Hedron Archives. It feels right. I feel like maybe I could do 2, but 3 of them feels just right. I'm not trying to go for 4 of these. It's not something you want to draw early. You definitely want these early. It's fine late, because again, paying 6 mana to draw 2 cards, it gets to be an easy thing for you to do, and it lets you not brick, but also, so what? You play a land, you play a Consider. Next turn, turn 2, you play a Cold Steelheart. Turn 3, as long as you hit all your land drops, you can cast a Hedron Archive. And then turn 4, you can definitely slam a Paradox Engine. You can slam a Paradox Engine, and even if you miss your land drop, you're at 6 mana, and if you have a Consider or an Opt, you're off to the races. Card's great. And yep, 18 islands. Only 20 lands in this deck because we run a super low curve. In this deck, I run 8 1-drops, 15 2-drops, 6 3-drops, 4 7-drops, and we top out at 5. It's Paradox Engine, 4 of those. So we are running our curve very low. So the next thing I wanted to go after was practicing mulligans for this deck, because as in any format in Magic, mulligans are probably the most important part of playing this game. Let's look at this hand. 3 islands. We've got a Consider, an Opt, an Anticipate, and a Supreme Will. This is a potential keep. I'm not crazy about it. Let's keep it and see what happens, because these are bot matches and I can restart whenever I want. On your first turn, or in your early turns, Consider you basically use as a draw spell. It does say you can put it in your graveyard if you want, but there's rarely a case where you really want to throw cards in the graveyard early if it's not what you're looking for. Early on, you probably want to Opt more than you want to Consider, but Consider's fine. Opt lets you keep the card in your deck, as if it's something that you want later. Like, I don't want to throw an Aetherflux Reservoir in the graveyard with this card. So we'll play the Opt. Network Terminal, that's fine. I would have liked to see a Mind Stone or a Cold Steelheart, but we'll take it. Okay, it's looking a little funny right now. We're going to Anticipate. I want to see 3 cards. That's a little awkward. So we probably want to take the Paradox Engine here. This one's really testing me. You could make a case for Hedron Archive, but it just feels like the right time to take Paradox Engine, so we will. Okay, so we draw a Mind Stone. It's a little bit late. I would have liked to have had that last turn. And again, that's part of why I play 4 of Shimmer and only 3 of Anticipate, because Anticipate only lets you see 3, Shimmer lets you see 4. Despite the fact it's a sorcery, I say it's worth it. So here we want to drop the Network Terminal. And let's Opt again. I'm hoping just to hit a land. That is also fine. that was turn 3. This is our turn 4. So we could Tamiyo's Epiphany here. I'm more inclined to drop the Mind Stone. And then after that, pop and Anticipate. I'm going to save my Supreme Will. Obviously, this opponent is going to lose, but if this opponent were actually a real threat, we would want to keep this just in case. If we want to counter something or whatever. And further to that point, we don't have to Anticipate right now because it's an instant. We can just wait and cast these anytime we like because they're instants. So we will. So before my turn, I'll cast the Anticipate. And I think we want the Hedron Archive here. Or, honestly, the land is not terrible either. See, thing is, if we take the land, we can get to 6, and then we can play Paradox Engine, and we can play Consider. And then if we Consider into something that costs 3 mana or more, our turn's done. Let's give this a shot. Because our deck is 15 2-drops. And what? 8 1-drops? But we've already seen 3 of our 1-drops. Let's see what happens. Wow, that's lucky. Okay. So, here's Paradox Engine. And we probably have game at this point, my guess. The really nice thing about... Oh, we're getting lucky. The really nice thing about having 1-drops with only 2 rocks out is that you get to ramp off them a little bit. So we opted for... We can opt for this Inventor's Fair. We've already dropped our land for a turn. I don't really want that, so I'm going to bottom that. Draw a random off the top. Okay, we got another Paradox Engine. Not great, but a good excuse to show how Network Terminal works when we have the mana. So I think I'm going to go and keep ramping. Keep ritualing here. And cast another Consider. So after this Consider, we're going to have 2 colorless mana floating and 2 mana that we can tap for Tamiyo's Epiphany. And that's a great Epiphany. So we can just do that. Draw these 2, keep the opt there, because we don't mind the opt. Thankfully, there's no time limit in these bot matches, so I can really take my time and talk and think, which I like. But in a real game, you would have to be making quick thinking and make these decisions quickly because you do eventually get to a point in your turn where the timer ticks down and does not stop for you, even if you're still making plays. So let's go Cold Steel Heart first. Always blue. Actually, we don't need to. We can just slam that. You do have to manually tap things with this deck, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's just kind of the way it goes. So, let's generate some mana. And tap for play Consider. Get to untap. And we'll take an opt. We knew that was there. Let's ritual again. Let's just generate some mana so we have a surplus so we can crack our Mind Stones soon. Hedron Archive. Hey, this is gas, believe it or not. So Hedron Archive is basically a free spell for us. Let's do our thing here. So let's use Network Terminal's other ability. So we can tap an artifact. Use Paradox, because it's not doing anything. Then we have to discard. We will discard our spare Paradox Engine. And we hit War of Invention, which is great news. So now we can go get Aetherflux Reservoir with that. And we have all the blue mana, so we need to do so. Okie dokie. So it is looking a little tight, but really it's not because we have these Mind Stones in this Hedron Archive. And we're making lots of mana. Every time I tap out, I'm making 6. 2 of it's blue. We take the Anticipate here. We've already played our lands and Paradox does nothing for us. And here is actually where... Nope, never mind, take it back. We just want to keep tapping for blue. Keep making mana. So we just gained 13. We need to cast one more spell and we win. It really doesn't even matter what it is. And there's the win. Pay 50, deal 50.